When we finished the last section, we had just finished talking about a locator globe, which was the end of page 18. So we need to get to the next page. So the easiest way to do that is just press this blue button right down here, blue arrow button. That'll take us to page 19, although I have to zoom out for us to see it a little bit better. So there's page 19. Or, of course, if you're reading in a book, you can just turn the page. That's pretty easy. Let's look at page 19 here, which is just continuing with the elements of a map. The good news is that there will be fewer things that we have to take notes on this one. But still, there's a few things. So let's look up here where it says latitude. And I'm going to, now that we've seen the whole page, I'm going to zoom in so that we can focus on these particular parts. Latitude. Lines of latitude are imaginary lines that run east to west, parallel to the equator. The equator is the center line of latitude. Now notice I skipped latitude. I didn't take note on that one because we've already taken notes on that today. But we haven't taken notes today on the equator. So let's get the equator. Let's get that note. All right. Equator is the center line of latitude. Go back and look here. If we zoom in on this particular map, the equator is right there. It's right in the middle of this particular picture. And many of you probably know that on the real Earth, if you're near the equator, it's really hot. Distances north and south of the equator are measured in degrees. This little symbol right here, it's a shorthand for degrees for that word. There are 90 degrees north of the equator and 90 degrees south. The equator is 0 degrees. Okay, that can be a little confusing, so let's look at it closely. Oh, I didn't mean to go over quite that far. Here's the equator. There are 90 degrees north. So from here to here, there are 90 degrees. And you notice the North Pole, it says 90 degrees north. There are also 90 degrees from the equator to the South Pole. So that's 90 degrees south to the South Pole. The equator is 0 degrees. The reason this becomes helpful is then we can start to identify places based on their latitude. So for example, Berlin, Germany, we were just looking at a map that had Germany, is 52 degrees north. So we don't see Germany on this map, but we now know that Berlin, Germany is going to be somewhere on this latitude line, about, because it's 52 degrees, so it's like about right there. Well, that's just approximate. We just know that it's like on this line. What would be helpful is if we had a second piece of data that would help us pinpoint it, and that's what a line of longitude is going to do. It's going to give us a second point up and down. So let's scroll down to read about that. lines of longitude are imaginary lines that run north to south from the North Pole to the South Pole. They measure distance east or west of the prime meridian. The prime meridian runs through Greenwich, England. It is 0 degrees. So let's capture that note right here, the prime meridian, because this is going to be helpful for us to understand. If I'm on a computer, I can just press return and it gives me more space. You may have to create another sheet, or you may have already had to have done that since you're taking notes in your notebook. The prime meridian runs through Greenwich, England, and it is 0 degrees. Now there's a way I have to look up how to make the degree symbol on a PC. I know how to do it on a Mac, but not on a PC, but you can just type it out, 0 degrees. All right, let's go back so that we can understand this a little bit better. So here's the prime meridian from the North to the South Pole. England is like right here on the map. Prime meridian is 0 degrees of longitude, up and down. There are 180 degrees east of the prime meridian and 180 degrees west. So we were talking about on the lines of latitude how there were 90 degrees from the middle to the top. From the middle to the bottom, there were also 90 degrees. Well, when you're dealing with lines of longitude, there are actually 180 degrees to the west, this way, and there are 180 degrees to the east. Now, if you're confused by this, that's okay. Don't worry. We're going to be going over this in a few different ways to help you understand. But for right now, we know that the longitude of Germany is 13 degrees east, meaning that it is 13 degrees east of the prime meridian. So if the prime meridian is here, and this is 30 degrees east, Berlin, Germany would be somewhere like right there, almost halfway, right about on this line. We're getting closer to being able to use coordinates, but we're not quite there yet. So it's okay if you're confused by this. We'll move on and we'll come back together and we'll put it all together. For now, let's keep reading down here where it says, remember that absolute location is the exact point where a place is located. This point includes a place's latitude and longitude. For example, the absolute location of Berlin, Germany is 52 degrees north, 13 degrees east. You say this aloud as 52 degrees north, 13 degrees east. That's how you would actually say it. And right here, these are the coordinates for Berlin, Germany. And that helps us establish the absolute location of a place. Like I said, we will go over this in a few different ways to help you better understand it. But for now, we're just going to read through this text so we have the basic idea.